Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Slay to Success talk show. My name is Rochelle Slay Queen Hemingway, CEO and founder of Slay to Success. Slay to Success is an image consultant service business, and I support women and organizations to achieve professional success by working with them on their image and their impact, focusing on the ABCDs. That's right, appearance, behaviors, communications, and digital presence. What does SLAY stand for and what does it mean? It means to kill it, to dominate it, and to nail it, to be on point, to dream big and work hard until you own it. And tonight, y'all, I've got an amazing guest who is slaying in her own right. SLAY also is an acronym, and it stands for staying ready to be ready, lead out loud, a sense of community, a sense of family, and knowing you are built to last. So as you're coming in on the show, make sure you put in your comments, where you're streaming in from, where you're from, and so that way we can give you a proper shout out as you come in and visit us tonight, because you could be spending your time anywhere else, okay, but you decided you wanted to be on tonight's live show and be a part of this conversation and be a part of the movement, because this is a movement, y'all. Slay to Success is doing a whole lot of things. Okay. I just want to put it that way. We doing a whole lot of things. It's got a lot of arms and it's got a lot of legs. And so I offer personal branding coaching, image consultant services where we do some personal shopping, executive presence development, and public speaking coaching. So if you are any one who is needing of these services, just reach out and let me know at www.slaytosuccess.com. All right, so we're going to get right to our guest tonight. And so our guest, her name is Precious Middleton. She is the founder and CEO of HR Boutique and Business Services, a leading HR consulting firm dedicated to empowering small and medium-sized businesses through effective human resource management strategies. With over 15 years of experience in HR leadership and consulting, Precious specializes in helping companies to streamline operations, foster employment engagement, and achieve sustainable growth. Previously, Precious served as the Dress for Success brand ambassador for Lane Bryant, advocating for women's empowerment and professional development. She is also the author of Pulling Back the Covers, a book that explores the importance of workplace culture and leadership. Precious is a dynamic speaker who regularly shares her HR and business success and expertise. So I want you all to give a round of applause for my guest tonight. Precious, welcome to the Slay to Success show.
Michelle, I appreciate that.
Yes, I am so happy you are here with us tonight. I know we're going to have a powerful and impactful conversation. So, first of all, how are you feeling?
I'm
How's it
feeling good.
going?
I'm feeling good. Thank you for having me today.
Yes. So we've met y'all through the Small Business Development Center. I was one of their speakers for their virtual women's conference, and me and Precious got on a Zoom call, and we were like, "Oh, wait a minute! We have a lot of things that we have in common. I love your energy. I love your personality." And I was like, "Come on, Queen, we about to be on the show so we can talk through some of the things that you have done." So can you give the audience a little bit, about yourself, introduce yourself a little bit more, kind of explain some of your childhood and kind of where you're at today?
Sure. Thank you so much again for having me on the show today, Rochelle. It's
Yes,
an
you're
honor to be
welcome.
here. Yeah, so my name is Precious Middleton, but I go by Precious Jewell. And it's interesting. I'll tell you a little story behind my name. But I'm not from the Maryland area. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I was born and raised in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And
Oh,
yes,
I'm
it's a
from Indiana.
oh wow,
And
interesting.
then we didn't even talk about that.
Little small city, right
Yes.
outside the Louisville, Kentucky area. Wow, what part of Indiana?
I'm from Kokomo, Indiana.
Oh wow. I'm not sure
Yeah.
where it is, but Indiana, okay.
Hey, a lot of people don't know that Black people do live in Indiana, y'all.
Yes, we
Okay.
do.
We live there.
You might hear that accent once I start talking a little bit. That she's
Yeah.
not from the area, but I am a mother. I have two adult kids. I have a 27-year-old,
Mm.
and I also have a six. Well, I was gonna say 16. She's actually 20. So both are grown ups now, and we moved here in the Maryland area May of 2015 for a promotion, for a job promotion in human resources management.
Oh, okay. So you've been so you've been in the Maryland area since 2014.
2015, I
15.
moved there. Yes, I moved
Okay.
here. Moved here just to accept a HR specialist role, and it was a great time in life to kind of move. So,
Yeah. Yeah, Maryland is one of these places that when you get here, there's there's a lot going on, y'all, as we know in the DMV area. And so it is a little bit accustomed to because I'm like, from Indiana, being from Indiana, it's a lot of corn, there's cows, there's, like laid back a little bit more easy life. And then you get out here, it's like, wait, you gotta be on,
oh my
so
goodness, always.
oh
Yes,
my.
I started in PG County.
Oh,
Um,
yeah?
I started in PG County, and now we're in Montgomery County. And PG County was a wake up call, like a culture call from Louisville to Indiana. So,
Yeah. Oh, I can only imagine. I know, all right? Although y'all, most of you who have visited us and listened to me, I was in the military for 30 years, so I did not go back to Indiana, like, as much as I thought I would be going back to Indiana, but when I went back to Indiana, it's like a whole different environment, and then I've been back a few times and coming back out here, I'm like, "Oh my goodness." It's just like night and day. It's like night and day. So
absolutely. You can get
so
some rest in Indiana, though, right?
yeah, you get rest in Indiana. You do. Your head does not need to be on a swivel as much as it is here in the DMV. All right. There's not a lot of traffic, per se. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh. So, and when you were young,
Hmm.
we all have stories. We all have something that either, happened for us, because I don't really believe in happening to us per se, but happening for us to allow us to share a story and to then inspire others. So, do you have a story, if you will, that you can share with our audience so that they get to know you a little bit better? Hey, Leslie.
Yeah.
Leslie's in the building. So I just want to say hi. She's regular. She's a regular. So she
That's
showed
so
up today.
wonderful. Aw.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Rochelle. I am an author of a book called Pulling Back the Covers, and it really outlines my childhood from maybe ages 3 to when I had my first daughter at 16. And I talk about in the book, I titled it Pulling Back the Covers because I talk about surviving child abuse. And
Mm,
um, and I talk about how some of the things that happened in my life that helped me shape my voice today and become who I am today. So to look at where I was and how far I've come, I think that people who hear my story will be very proud of the work that I've done to become the woman that I am.
yeah. You know what? Okay, first of all, you're
It's a
in the
lot
right place. Yeah, you're in the right place to be talking about this. First of
going
all,
on.
Leslie, she's here and she has helped, I think, 50 women to become best-selling authors, and they all have stories, really deep, rich stories to share to inspire other women. And, you know, being abused at a young age, but you're saying it was for a length of time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so you're talking about, I hear like 13 year span.
Well, maybe up until I was 16. I had my first baby when I was age 15, going into 16. And so prior to that, I was very much abused and had a lot of traumatic events that happened to me. Um, by the time I was 6 years old, I got hit by a car, and I wasn't expected to live. By the time I was 10, I got a double hip replacement, and they noticed that I was walking, waddling like a duck, and they didn't think that I would walk again. By the time I was 10, double hip replacement. Um, and But I kept having this fighting spirit that I was going to walk and that I was going to be normal again. So it took a lot of strength to come through that at a certain early age.
Yeah, I can only imagine how much mental,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like the mental capacity, even at a young age, you said, to fight through and to, find your voice, to really find out and become the woman that you are today. And
Yeah.
so in the book, do you share like, strategies or helpful tips or, words of wisdom that you can share with our audience today?
No, not at that juncture in the book. I think it was just really important for me to try to do a self evaluation on myself. I was in a lot of like relationships that were bad, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to try to understand why I was choosing these type of relationships in my life. And so I think the first book that I wrote was really just a memoir to the girl that I once was, that had
Mm.
survived, physical, mental, sexual abuse, and then traumatic events. So I need to write a second book. I started it, but I haven't done so just yet. But the first one was to really try to be a voice to women and children who may have experienced domestic violence or abuse, that it's not the end of life if you
Yeah,
keep pushing. Yeah.
yeah. So Kayron is here. Hello, my queen. Good evening. And Leslie says, yes, thank you, Precious, for sharing your story. You are what I speak about, Black boys owning their voice.
Thank you.
Yes. And so, I am so like in awe. I am in awe of women like yourself who decide and make a choice that I'm just not going to, sit back in the corner and, kind of just revel in my life as there's nothing more for me. And you just decided, hey, let me write a book, get my feelings out, express it, and let me just now move forward. So I'm absolutely thankful that you were able to write the book and to be here with us tonight
Thank
because
you.
look, we out and we trying to make a positive and influential difference in this world.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that you were speaking to was your HR experience, right? And so, I know before that, I want to go back to the Dress for Success ambassador for Lane Bryant.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about that experience. What was that all about? What were you doing and how'd you get there?
Sure. I have to go back a little bit so
Sure.
that it can make a little bit of sense about the journey. So I released the book in 2014. So it just celebrated its 10-year anniversary. And once I had released the book, I got the position as an HR specialist. I got promoted from Rest Care Kentucky to Rest Care Maryland. So, but in the background, I was doing a lot of nonprofit work and urbanized work and finances, but I wanted to do HR. And so everything started to work out. I got a promotion, I got a place to stay, my girls were secure at the time, and I moved here in May of 2015 to go into this role. And then shortly after that, February 2016, I believe, my boss passed away. Um,
Oh,
so I moved all the way here from Kentucky, then for a job, and then my boss passed away suddenly. And some restructure had happened within the organization, and I lost my job as an HR specialist. And the job that gave me all this pride and joy, right? That's the reason
yeah,
I moved here.
right.
And I lost my job, and for 2 years, I tried to keep up with it,
Yeah.
with the pace. As we know, Indiana, Kentucky versus Maryland has a huge different pace for the pay scale.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't keep up with it. I had two jobs. My youngest daughter was staying with us, and then we became full blown homeless in the state of Maryland in 2018.
Mm,
So I'm so thankful that we never was homeless on the ground, but we was homeless in the shelter. Right, we didn't have our
mm,
own address, and a friend took us in. But then we went to the shelter, and she started high school in the shelter, and I was still growing my HR career.
mm-hmm.
And so when so at the beginning of the pandemic, we're full blown homeless in PG County, living in a shelter, and we went through that for like 2 years. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, we were in a transitional home in Bowie, and um, we couldn't stay there because I was an advocate for women. And
What does
Alex,
that mean?
yeah, with my HR background, I was trying to put compliance into place. And I seen some discrepancies within the home. The women and children weren't being treated correctly to me. They didn't have the skills to speak English or work to go back to
Mm,
work, and I started to be an advocate for those women and children, and that didn't sit very well with the group, and so they put us out and gave us 30 days. Said me and my daughter had to leave because I was being an advocate. So,
wow.
yeah. um, but we persevered. We wound up going to another transitional home, and that's when I was starting my career at one of the local hospitals in the area. And I was looking for resources, right? Because I'm starting this brand new career,
Yeah.
and we transitioned from being homeless into another situation. And Dress for Success was right there for me, and they um, provided me with this Ready Box. It's called Ready Box, and it had plus size clothing in it. It had necklaces in it. It had. They also provided food at the time for me to transition and transportation money. For me to transition into my new career, which was at the hospital as a benefits administrator for the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Look at that, right?
That's right. And so this was Dress for Success. The business was underneath Lane Bryant, or is it was
Yeah, so Lane Bryant comes a little bit later. So
oh,
dress,
okay.
yeah, Dress for Success. They had made me the brand ambassador for their unit in DC. We did a big old photo shoot. They featured the book, and kind of celebrated me as a brand for Dress for Success. And so whenever there would be activity happening, they would call me and say, "Hey, Precious, do you want to be a spokesperson for Dress for Success?" And I always would say yes. So I had many different publications with Dress for Success DC as their brand ambassador. And
Wow.
then, yeah, they made a big, because they were trying to promote the Ready Box. And for people who don't know what Dress for Success is that they help women get back on their feet and provide them with clothing and career readiness in order for them to transition to be independent. And
Yeah.
so they had a Ready Box, and that was the whole idea, was to promote the Ready Box. But they was like, you know what, you're here, we'll go ahead and promote you too. And so I did that for a number of years. Different things that they had asked me to do for them, would always say yes, because they just really tucked me in and helped us through that transition. So Lane Bryant came because they needed a plus size model.
Okay.
And they had a partnership with Lane, Dress for Success DC, and they asked for me to be their Lane Bryant plus size model. And Lane Bryant, which we know is on an expensive luxury side
Mhm.
for plus size women, they sent me their fall collection. I got boots and pants and a coat and jewelry and a photo shoot. And so when everyone would go to Lane Bryant for their shopping needs during the holiday season, they would give back to Dress for Success. And then they was able to see my story.
I look, I'm all for this. I'm thinking to myself like you go from a situation that you're thinking that is like so gloom doom, kind of thing, and then here you are, you are an ambassador for Lane Bryant. You know what I mean? Like, look, I'm like, look at God. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
was like, wait, me?
yes, yes, you. Yes, you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because I know God was like, hey, you know what? There are situations, circumstances you were in. Let's get you now here where you can see that this is a temporary,
Yeah,
this is very temporary. So I'm like, I love it. I love clothes, as all y'all know. I go shopping, take people shopping, and all the things.
yes, yes,
So, to be able to get a box, to get you started is absolutely a remarkable idea. And I love that you were able to represent them and to
yes,
represent, plus size women, because not all women are the same size,
yes,
and they needed the representation. Um,
yes.
so Daniel said, that's awesome. And I agree, that is awesome.
Oh,
And
thank you.
Charlene is here. She is here in the building too. So
Hi,
welcome,
Caroline.
Charlene, to tonight's show. Thank you for being here live. And Leslie said, "Yay!" You know what I mean? So that's
Thank
awesome.
you so
So
much.
so you get into the Lane Bryant. How long did you do that for?
It was just for the season. It was for the fall
Okay.
winter season. Hmm.
Okay. And then
And
so you're in HR.
yes, so I've been in human resources management for the past 15 years. And I started out as a volunteer back in Louisville, Kentucky. It was so funny because I was working as I process payroll, and I was working corporate, but I wasn't happy and fulfilled. And so I would leave on my lunch break. I would take a huge risk on my lunch break, and I would go to business meetings. One, I would go to business meetings because I had an hour lunch. And then two, I would also be volunteering for a local SHRM chapter. And I wanted to really know what I didn't know.
Mhm.
I had already had the experience of working at urban churches and being behind the scenes, but I also wanted to understand the economy that we were living in Louisville, Kentucky, and how can I position myself to be different. And so I would take risk. I would volunteer because I knew I could be smarter, and I knew I could do things. And so I took risk.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned, really, by being around people who were more smarter than me and could add to my already success that I already had, which was an undergrad degree. But I wanted to learn more. I had a zest for more. I had two small kids that I
Mhm.
was raising, and making a certain dollar amount an hour was not enough. And um, I was drawn to success. For me, I was just drawn to being around people who exhibited success.
Ah, I
And
look, I love I'm like, I'm gonna have to write this down because you know what, when I'm gonna use this, when people, they ask you questions all the time, like how do you get there, and you do have to surround yourself and be with folks that are actually being successful in whatever they're doing.
yeah,
And the volunteers, yeah, I recommend people to volunteer. I volunteer, different ways or different environments, but it is truly because you find out so much information. So you volunteer, you're around these successful folks, and then go keep going because I'm
okay.
loving all this.
So I volunteered for 2 years at a local SHRM, which I think I said that before, but it'll make sense in a minute. And then I got promoted into HR, right? So this is me moving. My kids are in the 5th grade and 12th grade. I've written a book. It was the best time for me to transition from Louisville to my new home. And so when my boss died in 2016, I was like, I got to keep going. And he was very strict on me. He was sort of like, this is not a school, and I need you to learn what you don't know. It was more strict, like he wanted me to grow.
Hmm.
Right. But
Mm-hmm.
he had a very militant way of expressing his desire for me to grow.
Right.
And I would go home crying, but I also would be like, God, thank you for my training period, because what it felt like to me was I was being re-abused again.
Ah.
Mhm. And
Do
but
that.
I knew that when I was in Kentucky, there wasn't many women who looked like me in human resources management. And I knew I had a big training period that I needed to go through. And so I allowed God to train me. I would think in my mind that I'm getting trained for whatever I need to go through next. And it was
Mm.
homelessness, right? I was I, I was being homeless. That was the direction my life went into. And I can remember saying, like, God, how did you put me here? Right. And all of my faith was being tested, because on one side, I was trying to show up in a corporate world as a Black woman, but on the other side, I didn't have much to offer
Mm.
because I was homeless, you see. And then I
Mm.
also had my daughter who was, starting high school, and at Bowie High School. And so, but I remember saying to myself, keep going. You have a training period they have to go through. And there was
Mhm.
one specific time where I was in the shelter, and like I said, I was showing up for corporate, but in my home life, I had people, kind of talking about me, right? Because
Mhm.
I was dressed in a certain way. I didn't look like I belonged to the shelter because I had to go to work. And so I became a target of mimicking and talking about us. And God at the time, I'm a big believer in God. And
Mhm.
God at the time was saying, if you can't handle the small stuff, how are you going to be able to handle when I elevate you?
Mm. Yes,
Now,
queen.
so many times we can get caught up in what other people are saying about our journey and how we appear to other people. And my faith at that point was being tested. But then God said, these are the people that you can minister to, and I can use you to help elevate and help them succeed as well. And so I had to
Mm.
have a switch in the way I was thinking,
Yeah.
because we want to respond and check people, right? Um,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about. I want to check folks all the time.
Right. Who are you talking to? But God said, not at this time. This is your time to regroup and get yourself back together and offer your assistance. You are in a position where you can offer people job readiness skills and mentorship, and so that's a part of being a leader. And I'm like, okay, God. I'm like, you just don't know. I want to cry. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
right.
know.
But you know what? I took that time and turned it around. So in the shelter, that's actually how I met Sadija or Sadiqa, because one of my friends had invited me to her conference, and it was to inspire us. It was to inspire us, and and so that's what I started doing in the shelter, was starting to inspire, try to help people with their resumes and that type of thing. Um, and so, we got through that. But I think what was the turning point for me and my daughter was we made a pact that she was going to graduate from high school and I was going to graduate from homelessness. And my oldest daughter was going to graduate from college. And that was at the beginning of the pandemic.
Mm.
And we did that. We did that. My daughter, she was on the news
Okay, I'm getting
for.
my clapper. Look, I got my clapper here, queen. Y'all
Thank
did
you.
that. We said we did that.
Yeah, we did that. My youngest daughter
Oh my.
graduated from high school, from Bowie University. I'm sorry, Bowie High School, and then my
Mm-hmm.
oldest daughter graduated from Virginia State University. Um, and so they had followed their mom's footsteps. I had set the tone for them. I had graduated back in 2010 with a bachelor's degree. And I had set the tone for them. I said, you know what, no matter what we're going through, education in our family is a priority, and
Yes.
we're going to stick with that.
Wow. Even through the darkest times, even when you were at your lowest point, you were
Yeah,
like, we are
yeah,
still going to make something of this. We still have more to do. You
yeah.
know,
That make me cry.
that's such a powerful, like, because a lot of times people would just give up. They would just say, we're in a certain situation, we're just going to give up. And
Yeah.
so, both of your children, so did both of your daughters graduate from college?
Well, the baby girl, she just graduated from college in 2022, so she's only been postgraduate 2 years. My oldest daughter, she graduated at the end of the pandemic. No, my youngest daughter graduated at the end of the pandemic, and then my oldest daughter, something like that. But it came
Yeah,
full
I
circle.
know, girl. The
I'm
times of
sorry.
this pandemic, it done messed
They
everybody's
both did
time up.
graduate. Yeah, they both did
Yeah.
graduate. Though.
Well,
Um,
congratulations to
uh,
all of you, because
thank
that is
you.
not an easy feat. All
Oh my
right.
gosh. But you know what? Me and my daughter, I think this is very important to say. When we were homeless, we were our position was we're still blessed. That's how we were
Mm,
thinking. Like we got everything we need. We have shelter. We're still blessed. And God, how can we help someone else? That was
mm,
our mindset. And one of the times, because in the shelter you can't stay, like there's a gap, like Saturday night, Sunday night, or there's a gap somewhere. And over the weekend, like the shelter bus will leave us at one of the stations at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it come back and pick us up at 6 o'clock at night. And so if you didn't have anywhere to go, you just kind of out there. And there at that time there was this young lady who had a baby, and I'm watching the driver, escort everyone off the bus, and he's like, the baby got to go too, and my heart just dropped because I was like, the baby gotta go. So essentially, the baby got kicked off the bus. We were off the bus, and then the then the Addison Road train stations didn't open up to 7 a.m. So the way I was thinking was, I have a job, I'm able to go get a hotel room, and I'm going to invite this baby and the mom into our hotel room so that we won't be on the streets. And so I'm always thinking about other people too, because I couldn't imagine just having a baby out on the streets.
That's
Um,
right.
and so I said that because sometimes it's not about you; it's about what you can do for other people to help them, especially if you're in a better position to help. And so I just said, "Come on, let's do this." And we did it for the weekend, and we got through it. So I always was try to think about the positive
Yeah.
more so than the negative, and that's how we were able to get through a lot of hard times.
Yeah. This
Mhm.
is so beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, so, I have never experienced homelessness. I've never experienced, some of the things. And that's what I love about this show. I bring in guests, y'all, who are, in the same vein of slaying, okay? Even when the chips are down. All right. You still have a positive mindset and you're still stepping through,
Yeah,
and I'm sure it's not easy to do
yeah,
this all the time, but you are making things happen.
yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
so you talked about the leadership aspect, which I love talking about leadership, and you recognizing that you are a leader in your own right.
yep.
You know, when you're taking care of others, when you're putting sometimes your needs ahead of theirs because you are in a better position, when you're understanding, hey, there are some resources that I have that I can provide. These are all leadership traits, qualities, skill sets.
Yeah,
And then the mindset of being very positive and open and, encouraging and wanting to help someone else. I absolutely love that. And our audience members do too. They're all like, Kayrana said an incredible story. She said that
yeah,
earlier. And Charlene was, chiming in, saying yes. And I love Kayron's comment here. You can't authentically speak to what you don't know or experience, you
yeah,
know. So it's so important again that we share our stories and allow people to have a level of understanding where we're
yeah,
meeting everybody where they're at.
yeah.
And Leslie put here, you are blessed, and your family will be blessed for generations to come.
Thank you so much, Leslie.
Yes, I love that.
There's more to come. It's all like
There's more to come. Yes, right. This is not it. There is more to come in the future. I know. And Charlene is like, that part came on. All right. So, you know, so we did talk a little bit about the leadership and the mindset, so your wellness, okay, because I know wellness has to play a part in, because you're overcome adversity from, your experience, overcoming adversity for, homelessness, so what is your wellness routine guide, if you will? How do you keep maintaining, besides having the positive mindset? Do you have any rituals or things that you do to keep you going?
Yeah, I do. I mean, HR is not a easy profession to be in. Um, Being a mother is not an easy task at times, especially of young adults
Mhm.
who are growing into themselves. I think the way I take care of myself is, one, I try to keep myself positive, And even when I'm going through things, I do go through mental health therapy. I'm a big advocate for mental health because mental health was not talked about in my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, I have maintenance, right, for mental health because I have been through so much. And so I think I would say that I see a therapist, and I also um, try to get centered with myself and God. And I journal a lot. I do a lot of journaling. I'm a writer by heart. And then I think giving back to other people and watching my daughters, they both are teachers now. Um,
Oh,
they're both teachers, and watching them give back and grow into the young ladies that they are because of the pavement that I created for us is rewarding to me. So I just try to be grateful um, and listen. I listen to gospel a lot, and
mm-hmm.
so if you were to ask me what my routine is, I probably say, um, journal, spiritual, and also just seeing my loved ones grow. And mental therapy is important to me.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Um, and it is such a taboo, and especially in the Black families, communities, to get mental help because
Mhm,
then people think you're crazy,
mhm.
or they don't think that you should be talking about family issues because they are all supposed to be, like you don't share any of your business outside of this, kind of thing. And so
Sure.
when you do go though, you find out there's a lot of different layers, a lot of different scenarios that kind of connect. And you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize how that was affecting what I do today, like my behaviors today and how I think and I process things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I absolutely agree. Mental therapy is a beautiful tool. It is a tool that should be used more often than not, to
Hmm.
help you just kind of get grounded and help you to kind of vent, if you will. Because when I go, I vent and I like share all the things, and they know, like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember that conversation from last time, right?
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. Okay, so I have to share these comments once again on the screen.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so Melissa, who's one of my friends and an Air Force veteran, Navy veteran. Correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa. Okay, so Precious has a beautiful spirit. It's great to have her on your show. And then, K. Ron, in your story, rise the power to empower those assigned to you. I appreciate your candidness and sharing your journey. So beautiful.
Thank you.
So yes,
That gonna make me
your
cry.
yes, your journey is resonating with so many people, and I've got my Air Force brethren retired. He and I way back, but he's here and he says facts, facts on top of facts.
Oh my goodness.
So yes, what you're speaking to is so powerful, and yes, Melissa, I knew. I was like, wait a minute, it's not Air Force and it's not Army, so yes, it is Navy. So thank you all for being here with us because this is you know what, you have really given us a lot to think about,
Yeah.
and I am so happy that you are here sharing with us. And you were talking about your HR experience, and you are now the founder of HR Boutique.
Yes.
So tell us about that experience and how you got to this point.
Okay. And may I go back for just a second?
Yes, absolutely.
When you talk about mental health, a lot of times in our community, we talk about just brushing it under the rug and get over yourself and get over it. But when you have been traumatized, it's not easy just to get over it. And so it requires treatment. Um, and so I am really trying to break the stigma around get over it. are, just pray and it's going to be okay. I
Mm.
believe we should pray and it will be okay, but there's also things that needs to be addressed that you know professionals need to probably address. And so a lot of times we don't do that. My parent, or my mom, was the last of 17 children. I was her
What?
firstborn. Yep, my mom was the last of 17. um,
Woof.
and right, a whole nother story. That's how I got my name, Precious Jewell, because I was the precious in my mom's sight. Um, but she was the last of 17, and mental health was not um, talked about. And um, a lot of times it was just like, that's how she is. That's who she
Mm.
is. That's how she is. But as we got older, my family, as we got older, I mean, we could just see where some of the trauma has played a part in our lives. And I just
Mm.
think it's really important to address some of those issues. If
Yeah.
that's what whoever's, you know what I mean, trying to explain.
Yeah.
Um,
No, you're doing a really great job as explaining it because, brushing it and like get over it.
yeah.
You're older now, you should be all good, you
Hmm.
know. That is not, helpful at all.
Yeah, it's not great
And
description.
yeah, and we definitely need to make sure that we're being careful with our words and
Yeah,
what we're saying to people,
yeah,
because you can really harm people. And, for me, I'm always thinking about, people who are already in a harmful state, they harm other people, all
yeah,
right, because of what they've been through. So you don't want to keep pouring, gas on a fire, if you
yeah,
will.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I just think the healing process has to begin, and maybe it may not begin with family. It might begin with therapy. So
Yeah.
just wanted to put that out there. But yes, so HR, I been in there in HR for 13 years, and I my last position was at a local high school
Mm.
and a local charter school in DC. I was the HR manager there, and we had a lot of transitionings happening at the time. We actually had teacher shortages, and some of the students were coming to me and saying, "Hey, Miss Middleton, what about my chemistry teacher? What about my math teacher?" They were concerned because it was time for them to graduate, and we had some turnover.
Mhm.
And I could not find a staffing agency that supported teachers in the DC area. Now,
Mm.
I am very big on education. Education has sort of been my safe space as I was growing up. I knew I could depend on school, right?
Mhm.
And so for the kids to come to me and say, "Hey, Miss Middleton, we cannot find a teacher. What's going on? I'm worried." And me being an HR practitioner, I was looking for teachers and I couldn't find any. Um, None that were on standby, right?
Mhm.
And there was this one young lady came to me. She had a similar background as myself, and she said, "Well, Miss Middleton, I want to just have a mentorship." And I thought, okay, let me. My words to her was, "I'm going to get back with you. I have to go ask my boss." And her
Mm.
her words to me was, "Why do you have to ask your boss? Why come you can't do it yourself?" I was like, "Oh my
Which is a
goodness."
good question. Okay.
And so she put the fire on me
Mm.
to act, and it was the words from the mouths of the babes came out, and she said, "Why do you have to ask anyone? Why come you can't just do it yourself?" And at that point in time, I didn't have an answer for her because I knew
Mhm.
there was a certain protocol that I needed to follow. And but in my mind, I was already thinking about, how can I find a teacher, and how can I find a how can I be a mentor to this young lady? And so she challenged me in a way that I hadn't been challenged in a while, because I would be in my office and just be solo trying to figure out all these culture problems, right? And I got let go in November of 2023. And that's when I decided that I was going to start HR boutique and business services. So the HR is pink because of the young lady who inspired me to work with the youth.
Okay.
I know, right?
Yeah, look, I'm loving this. The audience loves you. I love you. This is just so awesome. So,
Right.
so
Woo.
just from that interaction alone, you decided, hey, I'm going to open up my own HR company, if you
Yep.
will.
Yeah, and my thought process behind it was, one, I'm going to help find teachers, because teachers are so vital to the urban kid, the
Mm-hmm.
urban children, the urban youth. And if I can't find a teacher, that means somebody's missing something, right? And for
Mm,
me not to be able to find one, that was like, because I know how important teachers were to me
yeah,
in my youth.
yeah.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't find a teacher. So my thought process was, one, I would start a staffing agency to support teachers, so, and substitutes and educators. And then two, I wanted to give a voice to young ladies like me um, who were pregnant at 16 and didn't have support and needed a mentorship. And so today I've started HR Boutique and Business Services. I serve the Girl Scouts Nations Council as the job readiness coach. I also am with WorkSource Montgomery as a like a job readiness coach as well with the youth. And to be able to give back in that type of way, to help them with their resume, to help them with their career, to be where they are, well, to understand where they are and what it's going to take for them to get to the next level. I feel like I found my purpose.
Yes. I mean, yes, you have. Okay, first of all, okay, we gotta go a little bit back. All right.
Okay.
Okay, Ron. I wanted to put this up, but you were, going into your story about HR, but we're going to go back to mental health for a minute.
Okay.
We all have witnessed the results of the just pray about it remedy. Normalizing getting mental health is something that should already be a thing, especially now.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah.
We are seeing the aftermath of the pandemic,
Yeah.
full blown, and so having people telling us, so we just pray about it and God gonna fix it and that's all you need
Yeah.
isn't really, again, I don't know what we're doing, but that's kind of like when we were growing up, kind of
Yeah.
the older version of he will fix it, but you do need professional help. Okay. You
Yeah.
need professionals who've been trained, who
Yeah.
understand, what are some of those treatment regimens or strategies you can use to improve
Yeah.
your mental health.
I think it will, once you improve your mental health, even if it's just maintenance, then you can be a better person for yourself, your family, and the people you serve. But right, if you're always calling out of work sick because you're depressed, you don't want to come to work, life is not helpful to you, then you're not filling your own cup.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah.
And everybody sees it but you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because everyone's like, what are you doing? You
or,
know, you
or when
need to
they
get
see you,
some
they go
help.
the other way because it's, So
Yeah.
I think it's important to be healed. I mean,
Yes.
so you can operate effectively in the community you serve, and wherever you decide to serve. You're not bringing pain to other people. So,
Yes. I agree. Absolutely. And Julia, welcome to the show, Queen. Um, so she says your story is an inspiration. I'm a firm believer in the saying, if they can see you, they can be you.
oh,
Yes, ma'am. And
Yes.
so please keep sharing coaching and mentoring. That is a good word right there. I love
Yes.
that. Yes. And then Melissa, she says, wow, what a beautiful story. Does she know she motivated you to start your business?
No,
Does
she
she?
doesn't. She doesn't because I left my school position back in November, and in my mind, I have been diligently working for her on behalf of her, and on behalf of the youth that is going to be serving us soon.
Yes. You know what? I am I'm always, wondering because Slay to Success was founded when one of my airmen lost his battle with depression.
Oh,
And if he was here today, he would probably be like, wow, what are you doing? You got all kinds of things. And I'm just like, because
um,
he affected me so life. So much. He influenced my life. Um, and so now she's still here. Like you gotta give her some flowers while she is still here. Just, let her know, hey, I've been doing all these great things just by you asking a question. Well, why can't you do it? Why you gotta go ask somebody else? What are we doing here?
hopefully, I'll run into her one day because she really touched my heart because if I think about my past when I was 16, I had a baby too, and I know how hard it was for me to keep going day after day, and so
Mm.
I want to be able to give young women and young men too. I mean, we're all in this together, so the resources they need in order to keep on pivoting to the next step.
Hmm.
That's where my passion comes in at.
Yeah. Well, you are slaying it, my queen.
Thank you.
Okay, in all kinds of different ways, and I am so, so happy that you came on tonight's show.
Thank you.
So, we've been here for about an hour, which I knew we were going to be. We probably
Yes,
can go on for a little bit longer, but I do want you to share with the audience. I always ask the last question about, if you were at your 80th birthday party, family and friends are around you, what would you want them to say about you? Like what is your legacy? What are you building to hear? All right, or to see.
I think of myself as a pave way. I pave ways, right? I pave a path. I would say that I'm breaking generational curses
Mhm.
for young women and young men that look like me. And I would say that, um, let's see, I don't know that I'm Precious Jewel. Now I know the meaning of my name, Precious Jewel, and that everyone is a precious jewel, actually, and we can survive hard things, and we can come out victorious as well. That's what I would say.
Yes. I I don't know what else to say, y'all. She's got me speechless up in here. Oh my gosh.
It just think.
Well,
I haven't used my voice up until I was age 30, but now that I have it, I'm gonna share it. So
that's right. You know what? I love it because coming on a talk show, doing this, it's a big deal. All right. It's a big deal. I think it's a big step for you to
mhm.
really get your voice out here to share your story. But look how many people you impacted.
Oh,
I'm just saying, they have like everyone is sticking around, and it is just so
oh,
good to hear. And so as we are wrapping up, y'all, because you know how we do, we at the top of the hour. So, first of all, I want to thank all of my guests for being here live because you could be anywhere else, but you decided to stick with us for the hour. So, Leslie, K. Ron, Daniel, Charlene, Melissa, Rich, my brother, Julia. Sadisha came out to the house. Hey,
Oh,
Queen.
oh, wow.
Thank you for being here, Sadisha. And yes, congratulations for your debut on the Slate to Success talk show. And Kayron says, happy that I'm here to hear your story.
Thank
And
you.
Sadisha says, love y'all.
I love
Yes, one
you.
day we're all going to meet together again because you know how
That
we
would
do.
be
Okay.
fabulous.
Yes, you know how we do.
Right, right.
We're going to have to do this. So, y'all, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And yes, next week we will have another guest, a Slay Amazing guest conversation, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Slay to Success talk show. And you know that I always say at the end, keep on slaying until you can't slay no more. And we will see you all next week. Love y'all. Bye bye. Take care. Have an amazing week.